Welcome to the Safari Mission Podcast. I'm Reverend Vidar Will.
And I am Reverend Catherine Legard.
And we want to share with you the Word of God to bring to light areas that we have walked through in our own lives.
Let's get right to the Word.
Today we've got a very special guest with us. I'm here in the studio with Mr. Will Watrous. Welcome, Will.
Thank you, sir. Great to be with you, Reverend Vidar. I am here with you in Kenya at the moment, and that's really exciting. We'll probably talk about that a little bit more in this episode, but it's a great honor to be here with you.
Yeah, we're glad you're here, and you've already been here now in Kenya, first time actually in Kenya, but been here for over a week and done a lot of great helping churches, helping us at Safari Mission, helping various entrepreneurs, and there's more of it. How's it been your first time here?
Thankfully, I have been able to travel overseas in times past, so it's not a complete culture shock. I'd seen some things around the world before, but it's been a blessing for me and my family to be here on many levels. I'll say in the natural, just it's beautiful. The landscape, we've been able to get out and see some really beautiful sights. Kenya is a beautiful country, and we've been blessed to be able to see much of it. And then beyond that, just being able to be around the ministry here and your family is a different experience. We've been with you in the States and visited and been over your house and things like that in the States. To be here on the ground, seeing you in action has been a really cool experience. Just definitely strengthened. We're already confident in this ministry, but to see it firsthand, to see what's happening on the ground has just taken that to a whole new level. So we've really enjoyed it.
We have for sure enjoyed having you here as well. And you've got a long history of helping ministries, children's ministries, various different things. You've got a lot of experience in business. What you do on a day-to-day basis is helping small, mid-sized companies, million-dollar companies, 10 employees up to 250 employees, helping them get to the next level. But tell us a little bit about your passion, because you help people in business, but you've been long-term involved in ministries. What makes you want to help ministries and leaders like coming here to Kenya, Rhema Kenya, Safari Mission? What's behind all of this?
There are probably two pieces to this answer. The first is that I discovered years ago that I have a theme that's been guiding my life for most of my life, and that theme is a little saying I say, which is, I love to connect people with the strategies and tools they need to succeed. And so that's just something that's in me. I can't not do it. I enjoy showing people the right and best way to do things to help them. And that phrase is fairly intentional in the way that I love to connect people with the strategies and tools they need to succeed. I don't necessarily love hand-holding people, meaning like through every single step of their journey and making sure that they do everything along the way is not my forte. But I do love introducing them and guiding them, pointing them in the right direction, and then occasionally holding them accountable throughout the journey. But that's just something I've always loved to do. And then I would say the second piece to the answer is just I'm doing my best to live in light of eternity, to realize that this whole thing is winding down, and at some point we will all stand before Him on that day. And with that in mind, I realize that what we do here is critically important. It puts a big emphasis on our daily actions. What we do on a daily basis matters in light of eternity. And so I'm just endeavoring to be faithful with what I've been given and to follow the Lord and make the biggest impact that I can with the time that I've been given.
Yeah, that's amazing, Will. You're taking your natural skills, your natural passions, but finding a way of making eternal impact with it. And we know a number of people that are doing that. It looks very different from everybody's life because our natural skills are all different. But it's such a great way to live when we find what we're good at, naturally speaking, and using those talents and making eternal impact with it. And
for sure,
we've seen you do that for decades. It's wonderful to watch. Now, you're an EOS implementer. EOS, what is that? What is an implementer? Help us understand what you do.
Sure. So I basically help people get what they want from their businesses. And I do that by providing a complete system with simple, practical tools that helps them to do three things I call vision, traction, and healthy. So vision is first getting the leaders 100% on the same page with where is this company going and how do we plan to get there. Traction means helping your leaders to become much more disciplined and accountable so they're executing really well on every part of your vision. And healthy means helping your team operate as a functional, cohesive, healthy leadership team. Because most of the time, leaders don't function well as a team. And what I've found is, as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the organization. So eventually we get to the point where everyone in the company is crystal clear, fully aligned with where we're going. They're making consistent progress. They're gaining traction. Wherever you look in the organization, people executing on that vision. And they're doing it as a group of people who enjoy the work they do and enjoy the people that they're around. And so in EOS, EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And so as an implementer, I teach people a set of skills and tools, usually working with the leadership team initially, that helps them get where they're trying to go. And it's extremely rewarding. It's very fulfilling work because I see the transformation that happens on the leadership team when they become open and honest with one another, when they begin to bond and work together well as a team, and they end up getting reflected throughout the organization. I joke around, it's maybe not so much a joke, but when people at work, when they don't have a good day, when they're not feeling fulfilled and effective in the work that they do, they go home, kick the dog, yell at the kids, fight with their wife or their spouse. Most people spend a majority of their life at work, and the quality of the work matters. It affects their entire lives. So when you make an organization healthy, when people feel like they're contributing to something that's important and they're getting rewarded appropriately for that, it's very fulfilling, and that flows over to families, to communities, to cities. It truly makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's great. Vision for life, of course, is so critically important. We teach a lot of principles as well, personal development and various things in Rhema Bible Training College. And we see a lot of similarities where you help people see the vision for their life, but then there's this planning and execution part, which you call traction.
Yeah.
But also the balance of life. In ministry, there's family, there's ministry in business, there's family as well, like you say, and finding that healthy balance makes for a good life.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've looked at a lot of different operating systems, a lot of different ways of running businesses. I have a master's in business myself. But when I came across Entrepreneurial Operating System, it's just lots of very simple components that are tested. This is not the new thing that's happened the last 5 years. These are things that business world has been using for decades and decades, and they're timeless. And so it's putting these principles together and packaging it. It's been a good thing. Now, I want to ask you, the leadership challenges, businesses leadership, ministries leadership, what are some of the common challenges that you see? And what's the best way to address some of these challenges?
I think many times the challenges that appear are related to what I call right people in the right seat. Right people referring to people who are a great fit for your organization. They consistently exhibit your core values. You just love having them around. And then when I say right seat, I mean that you have those people doing work that they are good at, that they have the God-given talent and ability and skills and experience and desire and drive to do good work at. And so you need both. You need right people in the right seat. So most of the time, the challenges that I see are people challenges. Sometimes processes, getting things done the right and best way every time, which affects profitability and all that sort of thing. But I'll say that below that people issue, or the right people in the right seats, that's, if you feel an analogy of a building, of a structure of a house, that's the house. But below that is a solid foundation. And what I've found is what really needs to be strengthened is the foundation of the organization, which is going back to core values, clear vision, clear structure to the organization, that foundation needs to be laid first in order for you to even have the right people in the right seats. So it's this foundational work that needs to be done. Those are the challenges that I'm seeing. They're often not aware of it though. They think that I just need more of the right people. And that's true, you do, but in order to get there, you've got to build a solid foundation with a clear vision and plan for the organization, and then build upon that and go from there.
Right people, right seats. I think we've all seen this. You have some people that are just wonderful to be around, but they're not turning the nuts and the bolts correctly. And so it becomes a problem. If you're putting bricks into a wall and you can't put the bricks in correctly, then it's wonderful if the people are wonderful to be around, but the wall's still not getting done. Yeah. And then as you say, you have the other side where somebody might be a really good bricklayer, but there's always drama around them. And you're saying you start with the values of the organization so that the people that come in, there is alignment of the way you think, the way you work, your work ethics, what's important to you as a leader of the organization becomes important to the organization, and there should be alignment with the various people you bring along with you.
Yes, and this goes far beyond having some core values written on the wall somewhere or in your employee handbook or during onboarding. I am talking about on a weekly and quarterly basis. These are values that get consistently exhibited throughout the organization. You hire, fire, review, reward, and recognize your people consistently based on those core values. So that's a whole nother thing, but I just wanted to mention that because often I feel like leaders hear this, oh yeah, core values, gotta have them, let's sit down and knock those out. But no, this is something that gets lived and breathed throughout the organization, and you actively make people decisions based on those. So they have to actually be used for them to matter and to be helpful.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Jim Collins came out with the book. It's on the shelf over here, Good to Great.
Yeah.
Researching what inflection point, what started making these companies great. And one of the things he found was that they really lived by their values. And after that book came out, it seems like everybody and their dog, they started writing values on the wall. But for so many of them, it was just a sign on the wall and it didn't really mean a whole lot. And of course, those companies that just stuck it on the wall because that's the thing to do, that you never saw the impact of it.
Yeah, a one-off.
What about pastors, leaders, ministry? Is it all praying and fasting? What about those professional skills? I think we see some ministries that are very professionally run. Sometimes they can be a little shallow on spiritual things. And then I think we all see some that are very spiritually inclined. It's all about praying and fasting, but counting is not done right, and nothing else is done when it comes to the professional side. But what do you have to say about that, the balance between them, and why should a pastor have some professional training?
I am grateful to the Hagen family. Brother Hagen would always talk about a ditch on one side of the road and a ditch on the other side of the road, and you need to stay in the middle of the road. And then Pastor Hagen, of course, has always taught us that it's the natural and the supernatural working together to make an explosive force for God. And so you do need both. And I would say that ministry is spelled W-O-R-K. Ministry is work. And many of us have heard that, but work is not just physical work. Work is also mental work. It is relational work. There's a lot that has to get done that might not be physical. You might sit at your desk all day and work very hard and be exhausted at the end of the day and only gotten up out of your chair a few times, which means that you're spending a significant amount of time doing what I would call knowledge work. In other words, you are making decisions, you are responding to communication, you're driving projects forward. This is all absolutely work, and we need to be proficient and effective in that work, and that takes a set of skills that in many cases are sadly lacking. And sometimes it's organizational productivity, but very often it's personal productivity. It's your ability to simply get things done on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. No one may be telling you what to do. Should you work on this or that, this project or that? And you need to be efficient, you need to be productive, you need to be effective and understand what your true priorities are and make progress in what matters most. And it's on you. It's your decision in that moment. And that's going to do that well. You've got to rely on a core essential set of professional skills to make that happen. And so to be professionally productive, you've got to have those basic skill sets.
What are some of those basic skills? Are we talking about using a to-do list? Are we talking about using a calendar? Or are we talking about other training that you need to go to school for?
It could be all of the above. It depends on, all of us have gaps. I joke around sometimes and say, I missed that day in kindergarten. You've all met someone and you can't believe they didn't know this one little thing. And I joke, they missed that day in kindergarten. They weren't there that day. We all have these gaps. And so you just need to look at what's most painful right now for you in your life. Sometimes you can identify that yourself. Other times you need to take some feedback from others and do a little assessment and think, okay, where am I encountering the most resistance or friction in my relationships with other people, and begin there. But those skills could include taking a class, but many these days, so much is available to us through technology, through the web, through chat, through AI, that we can sharpen up ourselves in many ways. But I would say a starting point at the base level would be personal productivity. And when I say that, what I mean is to-do lists for sure, but I'm also talking about a system you can trust that's not in your head. We all have these open loops. We all have these commitments that we've made. And many times those are just weighing on us continually because we don't have a trusted system outside of our head that we can use to manage all of these commitments. And so that does include a to-do list, but it means getting some trusted place where you get everything out of your head. Your brain, your mind was designed for having ideas, not for holding them. That's why.
I like that. Your mind is designed for creating or having ideas.
Not for holding and storing all of the ideas. And that's from David Allen, Getting Things Done. Wonderful book on personal productivity. But he spoke to this at length, basically helping us to understand that if we're trying to constantly hold everything in our head, it's like mental RAM, as a computer RAM, it's going to get overloaded and we are going to get stressed out. And so every time something comes into your world, you basically get it out of your head onto a piece of paper, onto a note on your phone, onto some device, some software. Just get it out of your head in a place that you know you're going to go back and review consistently, because if you just write it down and then never look at that list again, you're going to lose track of things and things are going to fall through the cracks. So having a trusted system outside of your head to manage and clarify all of your commitments is one big piece of personal productivity.
Yeah. So keeping a to-do list, it can be on paper, it can be in a book, it can be on a digital device. What I do personally is I keep it digitally, so no matter where I am in the world, I can update my list. But I print it, because when it's on a piece of paper on my desk, if I go up to grab a cup of coffee, I go up to the bathroom, whatever, when you come back to the desk, it's not on my computer where all my interruptions are, or my phone where all my interruptions are. It's on my piece of paper on my desk. So printing that really helps me. But yeah, it's a habit. You have to get it out of the mind, like you say, and onto a piece of paper. Now, we asked about, and you mentioned that everybody's got gaps, everybody's got holes. Both of us, we know a fair amount of millionaires that have gone from zero or close to it and are doing very well in life. And personally, I never encountered any one of them that had it all together from the get-go. Every one of them, they had weaknesses, holes, different areas that they had to find, and they had to work on themselves. And after they started working on themselves, then the bank account started following suit, so to speak. Any breakthrough moments, any stories you want to share, anything you've seen where, wow, they didn't know they had this hole, they fixed it, and now they started running?
Yeah, I've seen that organizationally, and I think we've all seen it personally. There's books about this. People's journey is amazing. And I think at the root of it is a curiosity, a hunger for learning, to realize that to get where I need to go, I can't keep doing what I've currently been doing. What got you here won't get you there. And so you've got to expand your tent, as it were. You've got to stretch. Growth is outside of your comfort zone. You've got to be willing to do things you haven't done before. And often that's simply adding knowledge and putting that knowledge into practice. It's not rocket science. People become millionaires every day. Just get in line, just follow the steps. It's really about discipline, really, when it comes down to it. It's about discipline and execution. Organizationally, things happen, I would say, when I've seen these breakthroughs, it's at the leadership team level. When the leadership team itself starts becoming open and honest with one another. In other words, it's not about politics and drama. It's about fighting for the best idea. And when a team can collaborate, when we can fight like cats and dogs, as it were, but it's about the issues, it's not about one another. It's not personal. It's fighting for the best idea. When teams can get to that level, that we have huge breakthrough moments, because now people are willing to share their ideas in a safe environment. It's safe in the sense that they know they're not going to be attacked personally. They know that if an idea is not good, then we'll work that out. But when the idea can get on the table to begin with, when you can hear these ideas, in times past, prior to this, people weren't willing to share, in fear of retribution, in fear of not really being acknowledged or heard or understood. And so when teams become open and honest, then breakthrough ideas happen. I love the general who would tell his people who's serving him, say, consistently, he would say this: tell me something I don't want to hear. Tell me something
I don't want to hear.
Yeah, he would train his people so that you don't have a bunch of people around you just being an echo chamber and yes, leader, yes, we'll do that, let's go do that. They'll actually speak up and share information that's helpful to making the best decision possible. So that's organizationally, I'd say, when I've seen the breakthroughs, when companies jump from $5 million to $10, $20 million, it's when the team is able to start operating at that level in their team health. And then, of course, on the individual level, I see the biggest breakthroughs, and I've experienced this, you've experienced this. It's when you start having a vision for something bigger than where you're at. And this is something that you internalize. I remember years ago, I sat down and wrote out a picture of my life 3 years from the present. And I went through every area of my life: physical, spiritual, financial, relational, all these areas. And I wrote a full page of what life was like 3 years from now for me in that specific area, a full page on each one. So I think it was 10 pages I had written. I had really sat with it. I really internalized it. I saw it on the inside. And then as the final part of that exercise, if you will, I found a picture that represented that to me. And I put it on one of my computers. I had an iMac, a big iMac. And I set it up so that when the computer went to sleep, those images would naturally just float by. And the funny thing happened is, I don't know why, there was a glitch, there was an update or something like that. It never worked. And so I had set it up to do that, but then forgot about it completely, because anytime it went to sleep, it just shut off and went black, and I, for whatever reason, didn't fix it. Years later, and it was about probably, 3.5 years later, I think my daughter may have changed a setting on the computer, but one day I walked by the office and those images were floating by on the screen. And I looked and I was blown away. I just sat there and watched them float by, realizing that I think 8 out of the 10 goals that I had set, the picture that I had set in my mind's eye, was a reality.
8 out of 10.
Yes.
In 3 years.
Yes. And it wasn't, I can't say that I was super diligent, in the sense that every day I reviewed my goals. Every day I set milestones and took all of these steps. I didn't. I just deeply internalized them. And I think that just guided my navigation internally to cause me to make decisions that were in line with what I had really put on the inside, and wound up walking in the reality of those years later.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I know there was a time that I did something similar. I wrote down 15-year goals, and I started making sure, then I put to work the habit of having a daily to-do list, which was in line with my 15-year goals. I broke them down into I said 1-year goals from the 15 years.
Yeah.
So at the end of the calendar year, I wanted to be at a certain place, and then every day I would create a new to-do list, having those goals in mind. And after 1 year, I was quite frustrated by how little progress we had made. We hike mountains, and sometimes it's like that. A half hour into a mountain hike, you're frustrated by how little progress you made. But the principle there is just to be consistent and stick to it. So I did for the second year. I just stuck with the system the second year, and at the end of that second year, I went, wow, we're actually making some progress on this thing. And the 15-year revision was one that was like way outside my comfort zone. I was like, yeah, it would really be something if this were to happen. It scared me a little bit, maybe a little bit uncomfortable. After 3 years, I could see it. We're really doing this. After 5 years, I got to the place where I went, who wrote this? Why were we thinking so small? Because there was so much traction after 5 years that the vision kept on growing. I realized you can actually get much further in these 15 years than what I had started out doing. So I actually had to go back and revise it and shoot for higher.
Yeah.
But it sounds a little bit similar to,
Absolutely.
you get to that place of internalizing a vision and then taking action towards it on a regular basis.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning into the Safari Mission podcast. We hope you've been blessed today. To learn more about us, visit safarimission.org. You can also follow along with our ministry and work in East Africa on Facebook, Instagram, X, which is Twitter, and YouTube at Safari Mission. To purchase any books written by Reverend Vidar, visit safarimission.org. If you're interested in joining Rhema Bible Training College Kenya, visit rhemakenya.org or call 07-14-915-799. We'll be back next week for more teaching. Until then, God bless you.